A widowed father walked into a trap disguised as a Christmas blind date, only to be completely broken by what his date had to say. Before we dive in, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories reach. Marcus Walsh stepped into the warmth of the Lakeside Cafe on December 20th, believing he was there to discuss a scholarship in memory of his late wife. But the moment he locked eyes with the woman in the corner booth, still wearing her medical scrubs, she looked up and delivered 5 words that nearly stopped his heart. "Amanda wanted me to find you." In that instant, he realized this was a setup, and what she told him next would leave him sobbing in front of a crowded room just 3 days before Christmas. To really grasp why those words hit him like a physical blow, you have to understand how his day began. And if we're being honest, it was a carbon copy of every other morning he'd dragged himself through for the last 2 years. Alarm at 5:30. Get his daughter, Iris, ready for school, barely getting 3 words out of her in the process. Then drive to whatever job site Walsh & Sons Construction was tackling that week. This particular Friday found him at a home renovation in the Chicago suburbs, ripping out a kitchen that hadn't seen an update since 1985. His crew was already on site when he pulled his truck up at 6:45 in the morning. "Morning, boss," his foreman Danny shouted over the noise. Marcus just nodded, strapped on his tool belt, and threw himself into the labor because working meant not thinking, and not thinking meant not feeling. That was his survival strategy for the 730 days since losing Amanda. Around noon, his phone buzzed while he sat in the cab of his truck, choking down a sandwich that had all the flavor of wet cardboard. His best friend Rachel's name flashed on the screen, and he hesitated. She'd been nagging him for months to start dating again, and he had zero interest. "Hey, Ra, what's going on?" Marcus answered, mouth still full, noticing immediately that Rachel sounded way too chipper for a Friday afternoon. "You know how Amanda always talked about launching that scholarship fund for kids who couldn't afford college?" Marcus felt his chest tighten instantly. Yeah, he remembered. It was the conversation they'd had in her hospice bed just 2 weeks before she was gone. He could still feel her hand in his as she made him swear to do something meaningful with her legacy. "Of course I remember," Marcus replied, his voice raspy with emotion. But Rachel plowed ahead like she had a script. "Well, I found a backer who wants to make it a reality. She's a major donor, but she needs to meet you first to understand Amanda's vision." Marcus brushed sawdust off his jeans and sighed. "I don't know, Rachel. It's practically Christmas. Iris has her school performance next week, and I'm trying to wrap up 3 different projects." He was rattling off excuses because the thought of discussing Amanda with a total stranger made him want to punch through his truck's window. Rachel's tone softened, turning persuasive. "It's just coffee, Marcus. 1 hour, that's it. Amanda would want this, and you know it." She played the guilt card perfectly because she wasn't wrong. Amanda would have wanted that fund more than anything. She wanted her name to be more than just letters on a headstone. "Fine, give me the details," Marcus relented. 7 o'clock tonight at Lakeside Cafe, ask for Natalie, she said, and Marcus hung up, filing the meeting away as just another chore to survive. What Marcus didn't suspect was that Rachel had made another call that very same afternoon. She'd dialed Natalie Chen, who was just clocking out of a brutal 12-hour shift at the hospice facility where she worked as a nurse. Natalie was slumped in her car, utterly drained, when her phone started ringing. Rachel chirped on the other end, "Hey, Nat, remember we talked about grabbing coffee and catching up?" Natalie rubbed her stinging eyes, barely recalling that conversation. "Yeah, sure, when did you have in mind?" she asked while hurriedly changing out of her scrubs in the front seat, keeping a spare outfit in her car for moments exactly like this. Then Rachel dropped the bomb. "Actually, there's someone I need you to meet. Marcus, Amanda Walsh's husband. He's been having a really hard time, and I thought talking to someone who was there at the very end might bring him some peace." Natalie stiffened immediately. She remembered Amanda Walsh vividly. She remembered the 6 weeks she spent caring for her, and she definitely remembered the secret promise Amanda made her swear to keep. "Rachel, I don't think that's a good idea." "I was her nurse. There are professional boundaries we have to respect." Natalie was scrambling for an out because she'd been carrying Amanda's message for 2 years and wasn't sure she had the strength to deliver it. Rachel pressed harder. "It's been 2 years, Nat. He has questions about her final days that he won't ask the family. Please, just do this as a favor to me." Natalie felt the weight of that secret pressing down on her chest. "Okay, fine, but I'm just there as a friend to help him process, nothing more." "Perfect. Tonight at 7, Lakeside Cafe," Rachel confirmed. Natalie ended the call, dreading what was sure to be the most difficult cup of coffee of her life. Marcus arrived at 6:55. 55 minutes early was standard procedure for him, a habit hardwired from decades in construction, so he scanned the cafe for anyone resembling a wealthy philanthropist. His eyes landed on a figure in the back booth dressed in medical scrubs, and he surmised she might be a well-to-do physician. Approached her table, extending a hand with practiced professionalism. "You must be Natalie. I'm Marcus Walsh." She glanced up and her expression instantly morphed into shock, though her face rang absolutely no bells for him. He couldn't place her at all, mostly because 2 years prior, when she was nursing his dying wife, he had been drowning in a fog of grief so thick he barely knew his own name. "Marcus, oh, wow, have a seat," she stammered, a noticeable tremor running through her words. Marcus slid into the seat opposite her, noting that her jittery demeanor seemed odd for someone discussing a financial contribution. They endured about 30 seconds of painful pleasantries before he cut to the chase. "Rachel mentioned you wanted to support the memorial scholarship." Natalie blinked, genuine confusion washing over her features. "Scholarship? She told me you needed closure regarding Amanda's passing, that you wanted to speak with a witness." The ground beneath Marcus seemed to vanish instantly. "Hold on, you knew her?" She gave a solemn nod. "I was her palliative care nurse. I spent her final 6 weeks by her side." Marcus shot up so abruptly his chair screeched against the tiles, drawing the gaze of every patron in the room. "Rachel orchestrated this." His voice boomed through the quiet shop, but he was too agitated to care. "There is no donation. This is a setup, a blind date masquerading as business." Snatching his coat from the chair, he felt a suffocating mix of rage and betrayal, as if the room were suddenly shrinking around him. Natalie rose quickly. "I swear I didn't know. I wouldn't be here if I knew the truth." Her sincere distress softened his anger a fraction, though his urge to flee remained overwhelming. "Not on you." But Rachel crossed a line. "Sorry, you got dragged into her mess." He spun around, navigating the maze of tables toward the exit. He needed oxygen, distance, anything but this. "Marcus, stop!" Natalie's plea pierced the cafe's hum. "Amanda asked me to track you down." His hand froze on the brass handle, feet rooted to the spot. He kept his back to her, terrified that facing her would shatter his composure completely. "What does that mean?" He refused to pivot, but Natalie's tone, though wavering, held firm. "She extracted a promise from me before the end. She said, find him in 2 years, during the holidays. She predicted you would isolate yourself. She knew you would exist but not live. I have a message." Marcus turned slowly, the silence in the room now deafening. Onlookers watched the drama like a live show, while his vision blurred with unshed grief. He fought to keep the tears at bay. "She arranged this 2 years back?" Natalie nodded through misty eyes. "Her love for you was immense, Marcus. She needed to ensure your survival. Please, take a seat. You need to hear this. I've held this secret for 730 days. Marcus returned to the booth, his legs feeling like jelly. The audience remained captivated, finding their morning coffee far less stimulating than this encounter. He collapsed into the vinyl seat, silence his only option as a lump the size of a fist formed in his throat. With trembling fingers, Natalie fished out a battered envelope from her bag, worn soft by time and travel. Recognizing Amanda's script, Marcus felt a phantom hand reach into his chest and crush his heart. "She handed this to me on her final night," she whispered. "Swore me to secrecy. No opening it, just delivering it exactly 2 years later, at Christmas. It hasn't left my side since. I just waited for the date." Marcus eyed the paper as if it were a live grenade. "I can't open this publicly, not with an audience." His words were barely audible. Natalie gave a sympathetic nod, understanding perfectly. "Save the reading for later, but I have a verbal message she made me burn into my memory for this exact moment." Marcus locked eyes with the stranger who had shepherded his wife through death's door. "This walking time capsule of a woman, she made you memorize a speech?" Tears spilled down Natalie's cheeks. "The letter is for your solitude. The words are for the reunion." Marcus gripped the table edge, white-knuckled, trying to steady a spinning world. "All right, let's hear it." Natalie inhaled deeply, her voice finding a surprising strength amidst the tears. She said, "Tell Marcus I haven't left. I exist in every dawn he shares with Iris, in every structure he raises and every joy he chooses. Tell him he can love me without pausing his own existence. It means seizing the day, living out loud simply because my time is up. Tell him that 2 years is plenty of time for mourning. Tell him he has permission to let someone new bring the light back into his eyes." Marcus buried his face in his palms, his shoulders heaving violently. He was falling apart right there in a crowded coffee shop surrounded by onlookers, but the dam had broken and there was no stopping the flood. Without a second thought, Natalie stretched her arm across the booth, her fingers wrapping warmly around his. It was pure caregiver reflex. Her voice softened as she continued. She also told me to remind you that Iris needs a father who is thriving, not just existing. Your daughter is soaking it all in, learning that sorrow has no expiration date. That wasn't the lesson Amanda wanted for her. Marcus lifted his head, tracks of tears glistening on his cheeks. How could she possibly predict this? How did she know I'd still be paralyzed in this spot 2 years down the road? How did she guess I'd be sleepwalking through life on autopilot? Natalie's thumb traced soothing arcs against his skin. Because she knew your soul, Marcus. She predicted you'd throw yourself into your job, crafting dream homes for strangers while letting your own sanctuary gather dust. She knew you would prioritize Iris and completely neglect yourself, and she needed you to understand that martyrdom wasn't her wish for you. A server materialized beside them, silently sliding a full box of tissues and 2 glasses of water onto the table. She vanished as quickly as she arrived. Marcus snatched a cluster of napkins, desperately trying to stem the flow and regain some composure. I haven't put up a single ornament in 2 years, he whispered, the admission sounding like he was confessing to a felony. Iris begs me every December, and I just dodge it. I tell her work is crazy, or maybe next time. Now she doesn't even bother asking. She already knows the outcome. Natalie gave his hand a reassuring squeeze. Amanda saw that coming, too. That is precisely why she timed my arrival for Christmas week. She told me how much you adored the holidays before the illness took over, and she wanted to give that joy back to you. A fractured, watery chuckle escaped Marcus's lips. She really covered every angle, didn't she? Orchestrating all of this while lying in hospice. Natalie's voice trembled. She loved you beyond measure. During those final 6 weeks, you and Iris were her only topics of conversation. She told me about meeting you at some awful college kegger. She described the proposal, how you were both splattered with paint while fixing up that first flat, and how you sobbed louder than she did when Iris entered the world. Fresh tears welled in Marcus's eyes. It's unreal that you held on to those details. Natalie managed a teary smile. It's etched in my mind. She made me swear to wait exactly 2 years. She figured that was the timeline you'd need to mourn before you could handle a message like this. And she was adamant about it happening during Christmas week because she wanted to restore the magic of the season for you. Marcus's voice sounded shattered. I'm not sure I have the strength. She wants me to turn the page, but I've lost the plot. Natalie reached for her pocket. She anticipated that hesitation, that's why she made me record a video. Can you handle seeing it, or is this overload? Marcus felt his heart hammering against his ribs, a physical ache. She left a video? Natalie nodded solemnly. We filmed it 3 days before the end. I was under oath not to show you until I'd explained everything else. Marcus scrubbed at his wet face. Okay, yes, play it. I need to see her face. Natalie queued up the file and rotated her phone, angling the screen so they could watch together. And there she was, Amanda, frail in the hospice bed, yet wearing that radiant smile that used to be his morning sunrise. Hi, baby, her voice tinny through the smartphone speaker. If you're seeing this, Natalie tracked you down. It's been 2 years, and I truly hope you're holding up. A guttural sound escaped Marcus, as if he'd been sucker-punched in the gut. On screen, Amanda pressed on. I know you, Marcus Walsh. I know you're probably draped in that tattered Cubs hoodie I tried to toss in the trash 6 times, still eating cornflakes for supper, and still grinding yourself to dust on construction sites because sweating is easier than feeling. Marcus was weeping so violently his vision blurred. Amanda's digital voice dropped to a whisper. But listen to me, my love. I didn't say I do, just so you could check out when I did. I married you because you constructed a beautiful life for me, in every sense of the word. You raised the beams of our home with your bare hands and filled the rooms with joy. Iris deserves to know that man, the one who laughs easily, cracks jokes, and burns the pancakes every Sunday morning. Tears shimmered in Amanda's eyes on the display. So, I'm asking you, 2 years down the line, go on a date, hang the Christmas lights, grant yourself permission to be happy without the side order of guilt. And if Natalie is sitting there with you, be kind to her. She's been burdened with this secret for 2 years on my orders, and she is truly something special. Amanda blew a kiss to the lens. I love you to infinity, Marcus. Now go live life for the both of us. The screen went black. Marcus and Natalie sat there, shoulders shaking, tears flowing freely, and half the patrons in the cafe were sniffling right along with them. A woman a few booths away was openly bawling into her linguine, while the server silently replenished the tissue supply. They sat in silence for a few minutes, just trying to remember how to breathe. Finally, Marcus whispered, "I'm sorry she dragged you into this scheme." "This isn't right," Marcus stammered, guilt written all over his face. "You're just honoring a vow, and here I am, completely crumbling." Natalie immediately waved off the apology. "Honestly, I'm relieved she set us up. I've spent months racking my brain for a way to track you down. I couldn't exactly just knock on your door and say, 'Hi, your late wife left a note 2 years ago.'" They spent the next hour lost in memories of Amanda's final chapter. Marcus finally voiced the terrors he'd kept locked away. Did she hurt? Was she afraid at the end? Did she know? Did she really know she was loved? Natalie met every question with the raw, gentle truth only a witness could provide. She opened up about her own scars, sharing how the same disease had stolen her mother 5 years back. That loss drove her into hospice care, determined to be the support system she never had growing up. Amanda had been the one to remind her that even caretakers need caring for. By 9 o'clock, Marcus glanced at his screen and cleared his throat. 2 hours had vanished. "I've got to head out. Iris is with her uncle, but it's getting late." They both rose, the air suddenly thick with awkwardness. Outside, amidst the parked cars, Marcus turned to her. "Thanks for sticking to your word. For finding me. For everything." "It was my honor," she replied. Silence stretched between them, neither sure how to close the scene. "Rachel probably staged this hoping for sparks," Marcus admitted, his voice tight. "Some rom-com setup. But I can't go there, I'm sorry." Natalie actually looked relieved. "Me neither, seriously. I wasn't looking for a date. Mission was just to deliver the letter." Marcus felt a weight lift off his chest. "Okay, perfect, we're clear." After a clumsy wave, they got into their cars and peeled off onto separate roads. Marcus parked in his driveway but didn't move for 20 minutes, eyes fixed on the envelope before he finally dragged himself inside. 3 days passed, and by December 23rd, the seal remained unbroken. It sat on his nightstand, a silent torment. That morning, Iris wandered into his bedroom before school. "Daddy, what's that?" She pointed a small finger at the paper. "Just a note from Mommy," Marcus murmured. "From a long time ago." His throat tightened. Iris crawled up onto the mattress. "Are you going to read it?" "When I'm strong enough, sweetie." She went quiet, then whispered, "I miss her. But I miss you too." "You're right here, but you're gone." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow to the chest. "What do you mean, baby?" Iris looked up, her gaze far too weary for a 7-year-old. "You stopped smiling, Daddy. We don't do Christmas. Mommy loved it, and now we don't even have a tree." Marcus crushed her into a hug, the truth washing over him. He had been so busy treading water, he forgot he was teaching his daughter that grief meant drowning. In that moment, he made a reckless choice. He grabbed his phone and dialed Natalie. She answered, surprised, but he didn't waste time on pleasantries. "I need a favor. It's a big ask, but I have to save Christmas for Iris and I can't handle it solo. Amanda's stuff is in storage and I can't face those boxes alone and I don't know why I'm calling you." Natalie stopped him right there. "Give me 20 minutes. Send the address." Right on time, Natalie arrived in sweats and denim, a stark shift from the poised professional he'd met earlier. Iris opened the door, eyes widening at the stranger on the porch. "Who are you?" Iris demanded with maximum second-grade suspicion. Natalie crouched down. "I'm Natalie, a friend of your dad's. I'm here to help rescue Christmas, if that's cool with you." Iris's expression lit up instantly, like a switch had been flipped. "We're decorating? For real? Daddy said yes?" Marcus stepped up behind her, wearing a look that was equal parts gratitude and panic. "Yeah, Munchkin, we're doing it. Natalie's my backup." They piled into the truck, Iris buzzing in the back seat about ornaments she remembered from years ago. But when Marcus rolled up the storage door and saw Amanda's handwriting on the boxes, his hands began to tremble. "Christmas stuff, handle with joy," read one carton. He froze, staring, until he felt Natalie's gentle hand on his arm. "1 box at a time. If it gets too heavy, we stop. Deal?" "Deal." Marcus nodded, hoisting the first crate. They filled the truck bed with what felt like his entire past wrapped in cardboard. Back home, they spent 3 hours turning the silent house into a winter wonderland. Natalie wove lights through the porch rails while Marcus stabilized the ladder, and Iris barked orders like a pint-sized drill sergeant. Wreath on the door, snowman in the yard, and Mommy always does the star last. Her voice was so thick with joy that Marcus felt his throat seize up just watching her. They dug up Amanda's old holiday playlist on a dusty iPod and blasted it through the house speakers. For the first time in 2 years, the house felt vibrant, no longer a mausoleum built for grief. Iris had nodded off on the sofa around 9 p.m. She lay amidst a sea of cardboard boxes and tissue paper. Marcus tucked a blanket around her while Natalie brewed coffee for them in the kitchen. They collapsed on the floor beside the freshly decorated tree, completely drained but feeling something dangerously close to contentment. Marcus broke the silence, his voice low. "Thanks for being here. There is no way I could have handled this alone." Natalie rested her head back against the cushions. "You would have managed. You just needed someone to help you take that first step. Honestly, I needed it just as much. I haven't put up a single ornament in 3 years, not since I lost my mom." Marcus turned to look at her. He studied her face, recognizing the deep-seated exhaustion and sorrow he lived with every day. "Rachel didn't just pull a fast one on me, did she? She played you too, forced you to face your own demons." Natalie chuckled softly. "She was always the smartest person in the room. Turns out, I've been so busy looking after everyone else I forgot I was supposed to be living my own life." A comfortable hush fell over them as they watched the fairy lights twinkle. After a moment, Marcus reached into his pocket and retrieved the worn envelope. "I've had this on me ever since you handed it over. Every time I try to open it, I chicken out at the last second. But it feels like time, and I think I need you to be here for it." Natalie straightened up, concerned. "You're certain? That is incredibly private, Marcus." He didn't answer, simply tearing into the paper with trembling fingers. He scanned the lines silently, his expression shifting through 17 different shades of heartbreak in 30 seconds. Then, his voice cracking, he began to read aloud. "My darling Marcus, if you are reading this, 2 years have passed, and I pray that your heart has begun to mend. I hope our Iris has inherited your smile and those awful jokes of yours. I hope you are still crafting beautiful houses with those strong hands I adored." Marcus paused to brush away a tear before continuing. "But I suspect you are still afraid. Afraid to let go and move forward. Terrified that loving another woman means erasing me. Let me be perfectly clear. It does not. I want you to find love again. I want our daughter to see her father happy with someone who brings him joy. Your life should be filled with more love, not less." Tears streamed down Natalie's face as Marcus read on. "You used to tell me love isn't a limited resource, that loving me never diminished your love for your family. It just meant your heart expanded. Please remember that. Your heart is capable of growing again. I chose Natalie for this task because in my final weeks I saw her true nature. She carries her own wounds. She pours herself out for everyone else. She needs someone to finally see her." Marcus lifted his eyes to Natalie, who pressed a hand against her lips in shock. "She was talking about you. She orchestrated this whole thing 2 years ago." Natalie was openly weeping now. She was truly something else. Marcus nodded slowly. She really was, and apparently she decided to play matchmaker from the other side. A tearful laugh escaped them both. Marcus returned to the final lines of the letter. "I have only one request. Do not spend your remaining years mourning the ones we shared. Live, Marcus. Put up the Christmas lights. Go out on dates. Get married again if you find the one. Give Iris a vibrant life, not a shrine to the past. I will love you forever, but you must let me go just enough to let someone new in." They sat in the glow of the tree for a long time, simply breathing in the moment. Finally, Marcus whispered, "I am terrified. Terrified of feeling this for anyone who isn't her." Natalie replied softly, "Me too. I have built my entire life around not needing a soul, around being the one who helps, never the one who needs it." Marcus shifted to face her fully. "What if we just start as friends? No pressure, no heavy expectations, just two people who know what loss feels like, trying to find a way back to happiness." Natalie smiled through her wet lashes. "I would really like that." 6 months later, Marcus was wrapping up a kitchen remodel when his phone buzzed. It was Natalie, asking about lunch, and his crew watched his entire demeanor brighten the moment he picked up. "You've got it bad, boss," Danny grinned. Marcus didn't bother denying it. He knew he did. He had spent the last 6 months falling in love, slowly and carefully, with a woman who understood his history and didn't demand that he erase it. They took their time. Coffee runs, long walks, and family dinners with Iris, who absolutely worshipped Natalie. Somewhere between February and June, it hit Marcus that for the first time in years, he was genuinely happy. Over lunch, Natalie reached across the table to squeeze his hand. "I have to tell you something, and I'm a bit nervous." Marcus's heart in it. "Okay, what is it? Is something wrong?" Natalie shook her head quickly. "No, nothing is wrong. It's just that I think I'm falling in love with you. I had to say it out loud before I lost the courage." Marcus felt a familiar sting in his eyes. "I think I've been in love with you since the night you showed up to help me decorate. I was just too afraid to say the words. But, Natalie, I love you. And it doesn't feel like I'm betraying Rachel. It feels like I'm honoring her because this is what she wanted." It had been exactly 365 days since their first encounter when Marcus invited Natalie back to the Lakeside Cafe. She arrived looking a bit puzzled, considering it wasn't their usual haunt. "What's the occasion?" she wondered aloud as they made their way to that familiar corner booth where the whole journey began. Marcus slid into the seat opposite her, mirroring the exact position he held that fateful night. "Because this is the spot where you handed me Amanda's letter," he said softly. "Right here, you broke through my walls and reminded me how to breathe again. I needed to bring it back to the start." Without missing a beat, he dropped to one knee right there between the tables. "Natalie Chen, you witnessed me at rock bottom and didn't turn away. You helped me put the pieces of my life back together. You love my daughter as fiercely as if she were your own blood. Will you do me the honor of being my wife?" Tears were streaming down Natalie's face before the question even landed. "Yes, 1,000 times yes. I can't picture a future without the two of you in it." The diner erupted in cheers, and the server from the previous year rushed over, beaming. "I remember the night you two were sobbing over coffee. I had a feeling you'd make it." By the time spring arrived, they tied the knot in an intimate garden ceremony surrounded by their inner circle. Little Iris took her duties as flower girl incredibly seriously, even utilizing a checklist to keep things on track. When it came time for vows, Marcus spoke from the heart. "Amanda showed me that love is expansive, not finite. Loving you doesn't diminish what I felt for her. It proves my heart is capable of growing larger, just as she predicted. I'm so grateful you waited for me to realize that." Then it was Natalie's turn. "You taught me that even the caretakers need to be held sometimes. You made it safe to open up. Amanda left me the ultimate gift when she sent me to find you. She gave me the family I didn't even know I was missing." Later at the reception, Iris tugged Natalie aside, wearing her solemn expression. "Does this mean you're my mommy now?" Natalie crouched down to meet her eye to eye. "I'm your Natalie. Your Amanda will always be your mommy, and I would never try to take her place, but I promise to always be by your side too. Is that all right?" Iris pondered this for exactly 3 seconds before wrapping her arms tight around Natalie's neck. "That works. Mommy would have really liked you." By the following Christmas, the house was filled with holiday cheer, and photos of Amanda sat proudly on the mantel right alongside the wedding portraits. It was proof that moving on doesn't mean erasing the past. It means honoring it while you build a tomorrow. Iris was busy teaching Natalie the secret to her mom's cocoa, while Marcus struggled comically to hang lights without supervision, failing miserably. When Natalie strolled over to steady the wobbling ladder, he gazed down at her and said, "Thank you for delivering that message, for seeing me when I felt like a ghost." She gave his ankle a gentle squeeze. "Thank you for letting me in, for showing me that my capacity to love could expand too." Sometimes, a little deception leads to the greatest blessings. Marcus believed he was meeting a potential donor that day, never suspecting he was walking into a setup that would save his soul. Natalie spent 2 years carrying a dying wish, only to find that delivering it to a broken man would heal her own heart in the process. This story goes out to anyone trapped in the shadow of grief, convinced that joy is no longer an option for them. It is for those seeking permission to take the next step, for those learning that finding new love isn't a betrayal of the ones we lost. Embracing life is the best way to honor them. Amanda granted Marcus that freedom from her hospice bed, and by accepting it, his world blossomed. If this story touched you, if it reminded you that healing is possible, love multiplies, and second, chances are real, please hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs reassurance that happiness is within reach. We appreciate you watching. And never forget, the people we've said goodbye to want us to thrive, not just exist.